Hello and welcome. This is Mouse Gunner, and we're looking at Red Orchestra 2, also Rising Storm, which is essentially the same game. The main difference being Red Orchestra 2 is the Soviet Union versus Germany, whereas Rising Storm is the US versus Japan. So right now we're playing a Rising Storm map. Some of the servers they'll switch back and forth between the different game modes. Some of the servers they stick to one or the other. But usually, if you've bought the Rising Storm version of the game, you've bought both versions of the game, so you can play both styles. I personally like the Rising Storm game better than the Red Orchestra. I just find it more interesting. I find the maps more interesting, and I'm an American, and I like to play as America. So let's go. And I get to enjoy a lot of the American firearms, which I really like. If you have watched my channel at all, you'll note that I do quite a bit of things with firearms, and the American firearms I just find very interesting. Now, whether or not they are the most effective firearms in the game, whether or not the game represents them the most realistically, is up to debate. As much as this game tries to simulate reality to an extent, and I am playing on realism game mode, which pretty much takes away a lot of the player aids, and it sets the damage to be more realistic. But that's one of the issues I still have with this game. Even on realism mode, oftentimes the number of bullets that opponents will take, especially if you hit them with high-powered rifles, is kind of ridiculous. For instance, if you have the M1 Garand, sometimes it will take 3-4 rounds to put somebody down. And I'm not talking about 3-4 rounds like grazing shots. I mean straight to their torso shots. It looks like everybody's on the Allies. I'm going to join the Allies too because that's what I like to play as. So we've got our BAR and M1 carbine set up. And this is just ludicrous for several reasons. Carrying both an M1 carbine and a BAR and the same loadout is kind of ludicrous, but we are going to do that anyway. This is one of my favorite setups. Now there is some progression in the game, and I'm waiting for a respawn. If you look over in the left, it has a respawn ticker, and I'm waiting for that to go down, and then I'll spawn up. Okay, so I actually didn't pay attention to what map this is. But right away I'm going to change the fire mode to the select fire mode to single shot. Now there's been a number of months since I've played this, and this is actually my first attempt at recording this game, so I hope I have the audio levels set up right for you guys. So I have my BAR, and I also have, if I switch over, oh, you know what, maybe, oh, okay, they're both the same. So I also have an M1 carbine. So the way that this game works is it really punishes you for hip firing. Yes, that's something you can do, but you're not going to get very accurate results. You're going to want to bring the iron sights up and use those. Or if it is a scoped weapon, obviously you would have a scope. Now it also has a cover mechanic, so I can get behind cover, come back out of the cover. So there is a cover mechanic in this game. Right now, we are the attackers. We're attacking an island that the Japanese are holding, and we are... Oh, I thought
Scan the horizon. Could be anywhere.
I thought I set it to single shot, but I might be misremembering some of the attributes. Oh, okay, it is on single shot mode.
Reloaded.
Alright, so right now we're capturing this B point here, and you essentially do that by having more people in that point than the defender has. Up ahead, there's a guy using a flamethrower, which he looks like he killed himself with, or, well, it says they bayoneted him. I'm not sure if that's what happened or not. Now, the Japanese, in my opinion, in this game are at a slight disadvantage as far as what firearms they have available to them. Most of their firearms are pretty much bolt-action rifles, which, again, that's historical. but most of the firearms that they have are bolt action rifles. Did I not kill him? Yes, I did. It just took a while to register for some reason, even though it was a headshot. Okay, I have to be careful. Now, as I said, there is an element of unreality with this game, and part of that is just the loadout that I chose. I have 2 rifles. BARs are like 20 pounds. The fact that I can run around and get shot in the head. Oh, okay, it has forced me over with the Japanese because all the human players were on the American side, so it switched me over to the Japanese team. Sometimes some certain servers they'll do that. Alright, so I have the I think it's a Nambu 100. It was a submachine gun that the Japanese had, and again, this is kind of getting into an element of possible unreality. Now, there are fixed guns that you can use, like the one I'm using now. But there is an element of that bots just walk right in front of my machine gun fire. I'm not sure if they counted me as having killed him or not. But yeah, the fact that the Nambu 100 is a firearm that is in the numbers it's in this game is not at all realistic, so a human player picked me off there. Which you encounter when you're playing against human players, that oftentimes the stuff that works against bots, which most of the things in this match are bots, which I'm not really sure why the Americans outnumber us, with that just puts it as kind of at a severe disadvantage. But the Nambu 100 was a very rare gun. And the fact that it's as prevalent in this game as it is a little bit on the unrealistic side. When I say a little bit, I mean, yeah, it's on the unrealistic side. But they did that. I can see why they did that. They did that mostly to give the Japanese some kind of firearm, variety, because otherwise the Japanese would just have bolt-action rifles predominantly. And that would not make for maybe the most entertaining gameplay. Okay, we're on the defensive point, but there are apparently Americans also on the point. I'm going to be in a lot of problems with this because I'm the only human player on this side. Everybody else is bots. And when that is usually the case, you don't do all that well because, obviously human players are a lot better than bots. So I'm going to try my best to fight off the human players, but so this, as I was saying before, has a cover mechanic. I don't know if that threw that very far. Okay, I'm pretty sure those are human players that are coming up. Probably on the flank. Another disadvantage I'm going to have is that the human players may use artillery against me. Something the bots would never do. And I don't really like playing with the artillery too much. Playing as the commanding officer and controlling the artillery. As much as it is a part of the game, I kind of find it a key part of the game. I know it adds a little bit of, dazzled with the game because, you know, there's explosions and big bangs and all that. So, you know, for that reason, it's in the game. But alright, we were killed there. Alright, I'm going to go ahead and change my role. And now I'm going to be mean to the human players. Because I'm going to be a machine gunner. One thing that the Japanese actually have kind of you know, a thing going for them is their machine guns. They're actually quite good. Their fixed machine guns, what they referred to as the woodpecker during World War II, at least the Allies referred to it as that, what I was using earlier. As much as those are, you know, decent, you know, they're not nearly as good as the light machine guns that I'm using right now. Alright, let's see, where is our defense point now? Okay, it's up there. So I'm a good 78 meters from the defense point. And that's, you know, I should have known better than to do that. I have to be aware that there are human players, and it looks like one of the human players is sniping. And I can't just run out in the open like that or I'll get killed. So, you know, this is like one of those things, though, when you are playing a game like this, it's not all that fun when you are the only human player on a team full of bots, and then, like, there's a bunch of human players on the other team. It quickly becomes annoying. Oh. Okay, they must have taken that point while I was spawn. Not really sure where to set up my machine gun. But yeah, we got one guy there. So I was a little bit optimistic with that. I am gonna switch back to the assault just because at this point the bad guys are pretty much right on top of us, and I don't really know a good place to set up that machine gun. It's been such a long time since I played these games. As much as these maps are the same old maps, I don't really remember where the good points to set up are, or, you know, where the enemy particularly usually comes from. So, I'm kind of, as I said, I'm stuck on the Japanese side. I don't really, as I said, particularly like the Japanese. I find the firearm variety and also the firearms much more interesting on the American side. Aside from the couple machine guns that you have available to you as the Japanese, it is not all that fun to play as the Japanese. And it looks like we're going to lose already, because I'm not for certain on this, but I think E is our last defense point, and they pretty much have it. So I'm going to chuck a grenade out here. I don't really even know where they are, but I think they just won.
We have been disgraced today, but next time we redeem our honor.
So I didn't really want to be on the Japanese side. I only got to play as the Americans for a very short period of time before it kicked me over to the other team. And it's one of those things that if I can remember how to switch teams, I'm going to, because as much as I don't want to be kind of sore loser about it. I'm trying to remember that I think there is a fixed machine gun here for the beach landing, but I don't remember where it is. So we have a beach landing, obviously.
So, 奴がやられた!
And as I may have explained earlier, I actually don't remember if I explained it or not. The point I'm trying to defend is A, and the way you defend it is by having more guys in it than the attacker does. If that balance ever tips in the favor of the attacker, he'll start capturing. Once he starts doing that, he'll get the point after a period of time. Whoa. So this here is a ammo replenishment depot, so I can get some more. I'm not even sure what the heck I was talking about there. I don't know if there still is a human player. If there is, he's not doing a whole lot here. Maybe he's... Oh yeah, he's sniping. Honestly, in a server full of bots, a guy that's just going to be sniping is really lame, because then he's just leaving it up to the bots to do, you know, the capture stuff for him, and he's not really in the fight very much. Trying to snipe and rack up kills. I mean, I don't know about you if you're much of a video game player. I don't like people that are like that. They just, you know, the only part of the game that they care about is racking up kills. I mean, yeah, that's, you know, all great and good, but why are there defendable locations? I mean, why do they give you objectives in the game? It's so, you know, the game's more interesting. It gives you something to do. So it's not just a mindless, you know, kill fest. I mean, if you wanted to do that, there's plenty of games that cater to that. I don't know why you play a game like this. On the other hand, I am in a server full of bots. Maybe I shouldn't be if, you know, I'm saying stuff like that. You know, it's more about things other than kills. I don't know. I just missed my respawn point. This essentially ticks over, and it's like a 20-second respawn each time. And if you don't catch it just as it turns to 0, you're going to have to wait another 20 seconds. It's just a repeating 20-second cycle. Alright, so they finally did capture that A point. And that's actually unfortunate for my side, because usually, once they capture the first point, it is hard for us to keep defending, because, you know, that beach, you know, once they get the beachhead, it's a lot easier for them to go on to the next points. Now, I will kind of admit, in my opinion, I don't think the game balance is very good in this version, the Japanese versus the Americans. And what I mean by that is, I don't think it's good for the Japanese. Like, the Americans are way overpowered. For one, they have the flamethrowers, which are, in my opinion, very cheap weapons. Oh my god. Don't get killed by my grenade! now I'm just trying to get myself killed. I was kind of hoping that that's the human player. It wasn't. I wasn't paying attention very well to what was going on there. Probably next time I die, I'm going to try and switch sides, because, you know, it's the Japanese side, it's just the same thing over and over again. But yeah, the flamethrower is way overpowered in this game. The fact that it's in the game, yeah, maybe it's, you know, in keeping with, you know, some realism and historical, you know, feel to it, because you have the, I mean, they did use flamethrowers, but it just is ridiculous, especially if you're like in the more house-to-house fighting. The flamethrower just wipes out the Japanese so easily. Because all he has to do is just spray. He doesn't even have to come into a room. If he knows you're in a room, he just can spray in the doorway and just pretty much kill everybody that's in there. And it just is incredibly hard to deal with. As you can see, there's him. There's the guy shooting off the flamethrower. Let's see if I can kill him. He's still spraying around. I can't get too close though, because if I get too close, he will obviously kill me. Oop. Probably get in cover. Alright, let's see if we can change teams. Alright, it let me for the time being. Alright, let's be a squad leader and get our M1 carbine out. And let's go. So, you can spawn on the squad leaders, but unfortunately for the squad leaders, they don't get that benefit. They can't spawn another squad leader, so they usually have to spawn all the way back to the spawn points. If you are a squad leader, it's usually in your advantage to stay alive, because then your friends can spawn on you. And hopefully, when I die, they won't spawn me over on the other team. But the M1 carbine is a really good example of a firearm that in this game takes so many rounds to put down an enemy. Now, you could argue, well, historically that was the case. These were underpowered firearms, but come on. I have unloaded clips on people, and you know, just to get them to be killed. And I'm talking very close range. I'm not talking long range. I'm saying close range. I have just, you know, emptied a clip magazine. I apologize for the clip. I've emptied a magazine into an enemy and just had no result other than, you know, maybe after the 10th shot I killed them. And just, for that reason, I do have issues with this game sometimes. And due to the fact that this is a video game, there's no real advantage to hitting an enemy once.
Reloading! Watch my back! Tails are between the legs now, man! Oh, God help us!
Alright, now I'm having a hard time even seeing Japanese guys. Alright, I know I hit that Japanese guy, but being an M1 carbine, it didn't kill him.
Keep pushing, man! We got this!
Okay, we captured the next point. And as you can see, when you're facing bots, especially when you outnumber the other side, I'm not sure why there's an imbalance in the number of players. That's probably why it kicked me out of the other team, because for whatever reason, it's probably putting the same.
Nobody else. Is he down?
I don't know if that gave me the kill or not. Yes, it did. But when I shoot the M1 carbine, that's pretty much usually how I have to shoot it. Is just spray it at the enemy, because controlled fire is not really a solution to. The game, because you know you'll shoot in a controlled fashion at a slower rate of fire, and the bad guys will just shoot you in between your shots and kill you. And you won't kill them because it takes so many shots to bring them down. And hitting them once and not killing them is almost the same as shooting them, not shooting them at all, I mean. So that was pretty much it. The US side won. And again, it kicked over the other player to the other side, probably as soon as he died. So there's a progression system. You do level up your firearms as you play. Usually takes a very long time to do that, and the upgrades that you get, not really anything all that spectacular. So I think I gave you a decent amount of gameplay footage. So we're going to get into looking at some of your weapons and what you have to choose from. So in the Red Orchestra side of things, you've got the Germans, and they've got and the Russians. So you've got your Mauser K98. You've got your Nagant 1895 revolver. Now, if you've watched my channel, you'll know that I actually own one of these. And I will tell you, in the game, it is not portrayed very accurately. For one, the reloads of this is very quick. Now, they don't really show you the animation for the reload, so because when the guy goes to reload it, he takes the firearm and brings it out of the view of the screen. And so it doesn't show you, so I'm not sure if they are if they're doing that accurately or not, but you can hear him doing the reload, and it's like, you know, pow 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 pow, you know, he's like, you know, well, not pow pow pow, that's actually a shooting gun, I guess, but, you know, he goes through, you hear click 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 click, and that's him doing a reload, and that's how quick he reloads it. It's just click 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 click, and then it's reloaded, and that is not realistic at all. That gun takes a while to reload. I'll tell you that right now. You have to manually eject out the cartridge cases one at a time, and then you have to reload it one at a time, and you would never do that quickly. That was done for gameplay mechanics. I don't know who developed this game, but I almost suspect that they're Russian, because you know, some of the Russian guns, it seems like, are overpowered or overbalanced for what they would have really been in real life. Or they just did that as a game balance mechanic because the Germans use semi-autos and the Russians have a revolver, and maybe they thought we need to make the revolver reload quicker so that it's an actual match. I don't know. So you have, you know, different submachine guns for the Russians, and then you have your Mosin Nagant rifle. And again, I feel like there's kind of a Russian bias on this. Yes. Mosin is a very potent rifle, but I think that they make this rifle, it's very accurate, you know, pinpoint accuracy, and it's very, very potent, you know, one shot stopping power. And yes, maybe that's the case in real life, but the Mauser K98, that isn't the case for that. Oftentimes you have to shoot a guy 2-3 times to kill him, and they're both action rifles. So I think that they have a little bit of bias on the Mosin rifle. I don't know if they watch Enemy at the Gates far too many times or something, and they think the Mosin is like the greatest rifle ever or something. But in any case, that's my opinion on that. You have the MP40. You have a couple semi-auto rifles, both for the Germans. This is a German, not German, I'm sorry, for the Russians, this is a Russian gun. And the Germans, they also have their versions of semi-auto rifles, which we'll get into. You have your MG34, you have your Russian submachine gun, again, the Papa Shah, as people like to call it. The Mauser C96, this is one of those guns that, why it's in the game, I'm not really sure. This was a firearm that was more a World War I era firearm, and the fact that they have it in the game, I think they just did that for, you know, screen appeal, you know, Hollywood appeal, and this is the, you know, broom handle Mauser that everybody, you know, really likes the looks of, and, you know, it's a really cool looking gun, but it's not something that would have been used very much in World War II, and the fact that they have this instead of a Luger, which a Luger would have been more prevalent than a C96 during World War II, is, you know, kind of baffling, but they chose to go that route. Now, the Germans do have access to P-38s, which that is historically accurate. So the Russians have a light machine gun as well. There are a couple anti-tank rifles. You have a number of scoped rifles. So you have your scoped K98. You have, they call it an MKB-42, but this is essentially the prototype, I think it was, for the Sturmgewehr, I think is what that was called. I think that's what I write, which came out later, but they started prototyping it earlier. This is supposed to, by the way, take place in, I would say, 42 probably. 1942 is where this game mostly takes place. So they tried to keep in with that timeline for the firearms. This would have been incredibly rare at that time point, but it is a gun that's in the game. And because it's a gun that's in the game, a lot of players play with it, so is that realistic? Not really, but it is what it is. So here's another semi-auto rifle. I think it actually has auto-fire. Yeah, I think this is an auto-fire rifle as well. You have the Tokarev, you have your P-38 I mentioned earlier, you have a scoped Mosin Nagant, you have the G41, which is the semi-auto rifle for the Germans. You have another anti-tank gun for the Germans this time. You have a scoped G41 and a scoped SVT. So that gives you kind of an overview of the different firearms available. I'm sorry if this is going kind of long. I just wanted to talk about this. So just to give you an idea of the progression system. So you have levels on a firearm, and once you get to a level point, for instance in this one it's 25, you usually upgrade, you get some, unlock some upgrade. So in this case you can get a silencer for the Nagant. I'm trying to see what else we can, some of the things they don't really have an upgrade at certain levels. For instance, I got at level 25 I got the bayonet unlock, but there's nothing for level 50. For this, I'm trying to see a good example. Okay, so for this firearm, you had upgrades for both level 25 and level 50. So you had, starting off, it just had one drum magazine. You can upgrade it to a double drum magazine, and then you can get a belt feed for it. So there are various upgrades, but some firearms don't come with any upgrades, and sometimes the most the upgrade is just like a bayonet or something like that. So if we were to switch over to the Rising Storm, we have, the Americans are going to have a lot more choices than the Japanese. That's one thing that I was kind of talking about while I was doing my gameplay. So you have a Springfield Model 1903 available, and again with the unlocks, essentially they're just bayonets. So I have a 10-inch bayonet and then a 16-inch bayonet, and that's pretty much it. The Japanese have their Arisaka Type 38 and Type 99 rifles. I haven't really noticed a whole lot of difference between these two rifles in my gameplay, but you know, that's the way that they modeled it. You have your 1911, you have your Nambu pistols, M1 carbine, And just, again, you've got stock-mounted ammo pouch. That was my upgrade. And then an M4 bayonet is the next level upgrade. And you usually only have the 2 upgrades. You have a trench gun, M1 Garand, and so on and so on. So you kind of get the idea, and some of the upgrades they give you. And some of the upgrades, they're not something that would have been, I'm not sure if it would have even been something that would have been really in the time period very much, but and it is what it is. A lot of it is kind of, just game mechanic-y type thing. So like the first upgrade I got for the BAR was this hand grip. That is something that some soldiers did modify themselves. That was a custom job that they would do, a little grip out front. They never were made that way though. And then your bipod is your level 58 upgrade, which is kind of weird because the bipod would have come with it standard, but whatever. And then the Japanese have their katanas, and then you just, all the upgrades it makes it more fancy looking, I guess. Well, I hope you've enjoyed this coverage, and I apologize if I rambled on quite a lot there. I might even just cut out my rambles if it's too long. But anyway, this is Red Orchestra / Rising Storm. I hope you enjoyed the coverage. This is Mouse Gunner, signing out.